the United States of America summary on a map. I'm really excited to get into this and learn more about America. Before we do, I appreciate if you guys can hit that subscribe button. Let's just straight into this and see what we got.
We begin in 1750 in North America.
Okay.
It's been 150 years since settlers from Western Europe, mostly fleeing poverty, famine, or religious and political persecution, first arrived on the continent.
Right.
Their arrival came at the expense of millions of Native Americans who lived there for thousands of years, mostly in tribes. On the East Coast, Great Britain has established colonies inhabited by 1.5 million people.
Okay.
The northern regions depend mainly on fishing and trade, while in the south, the climate is ideal for growing products such as tobacco, rice, and cotton.
Right. Yo, this map's going to be super interesting because we all know, like, when Britain went to America, it started on this coast and then it just got more and more to the west, bro. It's going to be really interesting to see, like, the times and how much was taken, or, like, how much... It wasn't just Britain that was colonizing it, right? It was others. It was, like, France and Spain and stuff, right, as well, that was taking the west. I know, we'll see.
Rich landowners, called the planters, seize vast territories that they exploit by buying slaves from Africa via the triangular trade.
Oh,
Further
okay.
west, the Appalachian Mountains form a natural boundary.
Right.
Beyond it is the vast French colony, which lives mainly off the fur trade.
Okay. Oh, wait. So, like, this was occupied by the French? And then this part by Brit... Okay. Okay, interesting.
Tensions rise between the French and British colonies. When the 7 Years' War breaks out in Europe, Britain dominates and takes hold of New France. Native American tribes living there unite to demand the departure of the British and the recognition of their own state.
Right.
To calm the situation, the British government hurriedly carves out an Indian reservation between the Appalachians, the Mississippi River, and the Great Lakes.
Wait, how many Native Americans are they today? Is there a lot or not?
Not please the colonists, who wanted to seize the opportunity to extend their territories to the west. In addition, war proves costly for Britain.
Oh,
the
yeah,
country
for sure.
expects its colonies to repay parts of its debt through new taxes, which further angers the settlers.
Wait. Was that the beginning of taxes? Was this the beginning? Because of war? So this is the pinpoint of taxes? Yo, now I'm mad.
Boston, in protest of taxes on tea, colonists disguised as Native Americans climb on board British East India Company ships and throw out its tea cargo into the ocean.
Huh? They just threw the tea in the ocean?
With the situation tense, representatives from 12 colonies gather in Philadelphia to organize the First Continental Congress. They decide to boycott British goods. The following year, the War of Independence breaks out, pitting the insurgents, also called the Patriots, against the British and its loyalists.
Oh, wow.
On July 4, 1776, the Second Continental Congress proclaims the independence of the United States of America.
Oh, wow,
France sees an opportunity to avenge its defeat in the
Wait, so you could say this all happened because of taxes and tea. Throwing tea aboard.
7 Years' War. Having invested heavily in its military fleet, the country has the means to compete with the Royal Navy. France allies with the Patriots. Spain and the United Province of the Netherlands, in turn, go to war against Great Britain.
Oh, wow.
In 1783, the Patriots prevail, forcing Britain to recognize the independence of the country.
Okay.
The United States receives territories until Mississippi, while Spain seizes Florida.
Oh, see, this is good that I watched this because I got to see how much Britain had, how much France had, but then it didn't get further than this. So, you know, at the start, I was like, they expanded west. They didn't. Spain's here, right? Britain got taken over straight away. America was like, nope, ain't having this. And then made America, and then they're going to expand this way. Okay. Cool.
This marks the first time a European colony gains independence. The United States adopts a constitution based on a strict separation of powers. The legislative power, formed by the Congress, passes laws and budgets. The judiciary, with the Supreme Court, upholds the Constitution. And finally, there is the executive power, with the US President, the head of government.
Okay.
On the other hand, the 13 states retain sovereignty over their own constitution and governor. It was decided to build the new capital, Washington, along the Potomac River. In the West, each new territory with at least 60,000 free citizens would be allowed to form a new state equal to the others.
Oh, wow.
Pioneers set off to relocate there, pushing back Amerindian tribes further west of the Mississippi River.
Oh, wow. The conquest of the West.
In 1800, France obtained Louisiana from Spain in exchange for the kingdom of Etruria. But it proved difficult to protect this vast, faraway, and relatively less-known territory. Fearing the loss of Louisiana to United Kingdom in war.
Wait, this was all called Louisiana? Yo, imagine this now. Imagine in America if Louisiana was this whole state here.
France decides to sell the region to the United States.
Oh, okay.
Congress then funds expeditions to explore and reach the Pacific Oceans. In
How
Europe,
much?
France and the UK clash again. The United States first tries to remain neutral, but following tensions with Britain, enters the war. It fails in a bid to invade the colony of Canada as a British maritime raid reaches Washington and burns the city. At the end of the war, the United States abandons its ambitions in the north and focuses on the south, where the Spanish Empire is in decline.
Right, go take Florida.
A military incursion in Florida allows, after negotiations, the annexation of the territory. In the west, Oregon is shared with the United Kingdom. East of the Mississippi, 5 Amerindian tribes are adapted.
Yo, Louisiana and Oregon. They started as really big states, didn't they, mate?
To the settlers. East of the Mississippi, 5 Amerindian tribes are adapted to the settlers' sedentary and agrarian lifestyle.
Okay.
But Congress nevertheless decides to take over the land and pushes the natives to a reserve west of the Mississippi. Thousands die of exhaustion on the way.
Oh, wow. I think I might have heard about that when the natives had to walk so far to the point where a lot of them was dying. Wow. So the natives, they were just being pushed west and west and west.
In Mexico, Texas, which is populated mainly by settlers from the United States, declares its independence. After a war, the Republic of Texas is created, and in 1845
separate country?
Is annexed to the United States. But
wait, how long was it a separate country for? I'm guessing this green was a separate country, right? 1836.
Created, and in 1845 is annexed to the United States.
9 years.
As the border is poorly defined, both countries are at war. The United States prevails and takes the opportunity to annex New Mexico and California, where the discovery of gold causes a rush that attracts hundreds and thousands of pioneers of all origins. With the land route proving dangerous, private funds are invested in the construction of a railway in Panama. The state of California is admitted, which does not have...
Wait, what was dangerous? Going across it? Yo! So you're telling me going all the way down here, through Panama, up here, was less dangerous than going across here? Wow.
Land route proving dangerous, private funds are invested in the construction of a railway in Panama.
Why
so? The state of California is admitted, which does not have slavery. Southern states are largely agrarian and have slavery, while northern states are industrial and abolitionist. Both sides wish to extend their model to the new western states, causing the gap between them to widen.
Wait, okay. So I'm guessing this is the North, the famous American Civil War, the North versus the South. And it's because of the slavery, right? Yeah, obviously slavery is in the South and not slavery in the North.
In 1860, Abraham Lincoln, who was hostile to slavery, is elected president of the country.
Right.
In response, southern states secede from the United States one by one and band together to proclaim the Confederate States of America. Then begins the Civil War, which pits the Unionists of the North against the Confederates of the South. The North sets up a maritime blockade on the Atlantic coast, cutting out any potential support from Europe and blocking cotton exports.
Oh, wow.
In 1865, the North prevails and takes the opportunity to impose its policies. Slavery is abolished, and 3.5 million slaves are freed. But African Americans are now victims of segregation and racism, especially through the emergence of the Ku Klux Klan, a white supremacist organization. Many migrate to the north, while others move to cities.
Yikes.
The Russian Empire fears losing Alaska to Britain, so chooses to sell the territory to the United States.
Oh, wait, I forgot that Russia had Alaska. Wait, yo. And he sold it to America? Yo, imagine Russia selling it or losing it to the United Kingdom. Then there will be a big chance that Alaska would have been Canada.
He is losing Alaska to Britain, so chooses to sell the territory to the United States. To accelerate its conquest of the West, the government finances the construction of transcontinental railway lines. In the center of the country, the invention of new machinery allows intensive agriculture. Vast plantations of wheat, corn, and large pastures are set up at the expense of the last 250,000 Amerindians who are kept on reserves. On the other hand, the rich soil allows rapid development of industry. The old continent Europe now views the United States as an El Dorado. Fleeing poverty and religious persecution, many southern and eastern Europeans migrate to the United States where they work as cheap labor. But the economic boom only benefits a minority. An elite group of industrialists grows rich quickly by establishing monopolies in sectors such as steel, railways, oil and banks at the expense of workers and peasants, including women and children, working in harsh conditions. Strikes and protests erupt, demanding better conditions, but these are often met with violence by private militias or the National Guard.
Wait, what would they do? So when strikes happen, the private militias, they'll just beat their ass?
While European powers colonize a large part of the world, the United States also looks to project its power on the international scene. While annexing Hawaii in the middle of the Pacific, the country turns to Cuba, where there is a revolt against the Spanish. The United States supports Cuban independentists. After the mysterious explosion of a US Navy ship in the port of Havana, war breaks out between Spain and the US. The US wins.
Wait, but Cuba's not a part of America, is it?
Obtains the independence of Cuba and seizes Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines.
Oh, okay. I think Cuba's not a state of America, but Cuba is a part of America somehow.
The country thus becomes a colonial power. In Colombia, a French company begins construction of a canal that would connect the two oceans, greatly shortening the journey between the US East and West Coast.
Yo, surely at this point, they've got railroads now. Why do they still go through here? They got railroads. You're still telling me it's easy to go around on a boat? Huh?
Of a canal that would connect the two oceans, greatly shortening the journey between the US East and West Coast.
Why do we need this now?
The United States buys the project and then intervenes to support the independence of Panama. In return, the new government of Panama offers the US a strip of land which helps complete the construction of the canal, inaugurated in 1914.
Interesting.
In Europe, World War I begins. With workers and peasants on the front lines, industry on the continent slows down. The US industry takes advantage of this and, despite the country's neutrality in the war, sells on credit ammunition, food, clothes and automobiles to the Entente countries. In response, Germany tries to impose a maritime blockade by sinking merchant ships in British waters. In 1917, a German telegram destined for Mexico is intercepted, proposing a military alliance against the United States. This pushes the US to go to war on the side of the Entente, and 2 million soldiers are sent to European fronts.
Yo! I didn't know exactly how America got involved in World War I. So Germany sent Mexico a message, America intercepted it, and Germany's hopes was to get Mexico on their side so they can, like, you know, mess with America. But America's like, okay, you guys want to do that? Hey, we'll join these lot. And the rest is history, man.
116,000 soldiers lose their lives. After the victory of the Entente, Europe finds itself indebted to the United States.
Okay. Thank you for that, by the way. Americans, thank you for that.
The economy of the US prospers. In factories, improvements in the assembly line cause production to skyrocket and decrease prices. The rise in purchasing power and credit results in a boom for the sales of cars, all kinds of appliances, and bank shares. Hollywood becomes a major industry with global influence. Thanks to the sale of radios, music genres such as jazz become popular.
Wait. What do you mean Hollywood? In 1920, Hollywood? But we don't even have TVs yet. Huh? Hold on.
And bank shares. Hollywood becomes a major industry with global influence.
Did we have
Thanks
TVs?
to the sale of radios, music genres such as jazz become popular. In New York mainly, nightclubs open, stimulating the sale of alcohol. The more conservative government tries to stem the phenomenon by voting for prohibition, forbidding the production, transport, or sale of alcohol.
Oh, wow.
In response, thousands of speakeasies spring up throughout the country.
Yo, that must have been a crazy time when alcohol was banned. And you had to, like, you know how, like people would get drugs and stuff, like, and drug dealers? You'd have alcohol dealers, dude. Wow.
Mafia networks seize the market and get rich quickly. Meanwhile, the South misses out on this wave of prosperity. Falling prices for agricultural products plunge the region into poverty. The Ku Klux Klan comes back into prominence, this time also targeting Jews, Catholics, and immigrants in addition to African Americans.
Oh, wow.
The organization reaches 5 million members and is then banned after several lynching episodes.
Whoa. What was the population of America at this point? Because even in today's population of 300 and something million, 5 million members is a lot, bro. Yo. Oh, wow.
Into prominence. This time also targeting Jews, Catholics, and immigrants in addition to African Americans. The organization reaches 5 million members and is then banned after several lynching episodes. In 1929, the Wall Street stock market crash takes place. The US economy collapses. In a few short years, a string of bankruptcies of companies and banks pushes a quarter of the active population.
Oh wait, when was the first television? Hollywood might have been around for the first television. It was 19. I thought the first television was like 1940-ish. Not 1920. I didn't know. Maybe it might have been 1900, yeah. I have no clue.
Into unemployment. Prohibition is lifted and steps are taken to try and revive the economy and improve working conditions.
World War II.
In Europe, World War II breaks out. The United States, although officially neutral, prepares for war by reinstating military service. In addition, the country sells arms mainly to the United Kingdom and the USSR. In the Pacific Ocean, in order to curb the expansion of imperialist Japan allied to Nazi Germany, the United States imposes upon the country an embargo on steel and oil.
It's very, very weird for me to see. I don't know if it is for you guys, but just see again that the USSR, Russia, was allied with us. Wow, bro, that is just crazy for me to see. I ain't gonna lie.
In response, Japan launches a surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, causing the US to enter the war.
Yeah, we've seen this.
The country secretly embarks upon a research program to create the atomic bomb. In 1945, the Allies overcome Germany. The USSR and the US then unite against Japan. A ground invasion by the Soviets and 2 atomic bombs dropped by the United States on the cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki force Japan to surrender.
Yikes.
At the end of the war, the US supports the creation of the United...
Bro, Japan hitting Pearl Harbor was the worst thing they could have done, man. Nobody, I bet you no one was expecting for what USA was going to unleash on them for that, bro. Bro, silence them instantly. They surrendered, bro. Yeah, we don't want no more, man.
United States,
Crazy.
The cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki forced Japan to surrender. At the end of the war, the US supports the creation of the United Nations, whose primary role is to maintain peace and security in the world. Europe finds itself in ruins and is exhausted by war. The United States and the USSR emerge as the two great world powers.
Okay. In 1945.
After World War II, the USSR and the United States try and peddle their influence in Europe. The US implements the Marshall Plan, while the Soviet Union supports pro-communist governments in Eastern countries.
Okay.
The old continent is found divided by the Iron Curtain. The USSR and the US engage in a Cold War that is an arms race without direct confrontation. The US, largely spared the ravages of war on its territory, has an industrial, economic, and military advantage. Inside the country, federal officials sympathetic to communist ideas are dismissed. Hollywood is also used to churn out anti-communist propaganda.
Okay.
On the global arena, the country employs an interventionist policy aimed at stemming at all costs the spread of communism. The US intervenes in Greece, China, and engages its military in Korea and Vietnam. The Soviet Union, for its part, invests heavily to catch up with the US. After developing atomic weapons of its own, it becomes the first country to send a satellite into orbit and further outdoes itself by sending the first man into space.
What? Russia? Hold on.
Developing atomic weapons invests heavily to catch up with the US. After developing atomic weapons of its own, it becomes the first country to send a satellite into orbit and further outdoes itself by sending the first man into space.
Yo, was Russia actually the first country to send the first person into space? Why did I think America was? Oh, I'm thinking because I thought the first time I went into space was the moon landing, no? Oh, okay. Interesting. Maybe he just went to space and back down.
The US then launches the Apollo program,
which
aims to send the first astronaut to the moon. In Cuba, an attempt to overthrow the new communist government fails.
Wait, what did Russia do with the man in space then? He just sent him into space and then back down? He just went up into space and was like, oh yeah, this is good. Bring him back down. I suppose it is a statement though. Like, it's actually getting someone to space.
Soviet Union takes advantage to ally with the country and installs nuclear missiles on its territory, pointed at the US. Tensions build to a point where it seemed a third world war was imminent. However, an accord is reached between the two world powers, resulting in the USSR withdrawing from Cuba. Within the country, more and more civil rights movements gain momentum, forcing the government to review its social policies. African Americans begin non-violent actions to combat segregation. More and more women enter the workforce and demand equal pay. Native Americans also fight for better conditions. Moreover, with the US at war in Vietnam, students and hippie pacifist movements call for peace. In 1969, the country sends the first man to the moon. Worldwide, millions of viewers watch the event live.
That would have been so cool to see. That honestly would be so cool to see, the first man going to the moon. Obviously, I wasn't even born then, but, you know, it would have been sick.
On the global arena.
This is what I'm saying about TVs though earlier. Like, I thought it was around like 1940 because people did see, like, watch on their televisions during 1969, the first man on the moon, right? But they had like the black and white, very old box TVs. And I thought it was quite recent at this point. So I thought the TVs was like 1940, but then Hollywood was 1920. So I'm confused.
The US tries to...
I don't know. I must be wrong about when TVs were made.
On the global arena, the US tries to ease tensions. It begins diplomatic rapprochement with China and signs agreements with the USSR to limit the global arms race. In the Middle East, the US supports Israel in the Yom Kippur War, for which it is then subject to an oil embargo imposed by OPEC countries. In Vietnam, after negotiations, the US withdraws their army. 2 years later, the communists prevail in the country, tarnishing the image of the United States. The USSR takes this opportunity to intensify its international policy. The country occupies Afghanistan, and in reaction, the United States provides military support to the Mujahideen. In Central America, US also intervenes in Nicaragua and Guatemala to counter communist revolutions. Iran, after a revolution, becomes an Islamist republic that goes against US policy. The latter strengthens its military presence in the Middle East to ensure the security of oil supply.
Yo, America's just dabbled in everything. In every country. Around the globe. Like, so much is going on, bro.
On the Soviet side, the USSR struggles to contain the revolutions in Eastern Europe.
Okay.
With its economy in tatters, despite attempts at reform, in 1991, the USSR collapses, marking the end of the Cold War.
Wow, bro, look at that. So from this, Russia got all of this from the USSR. Look how many countries, like, was spawned in from the USSR collapsing. Okay.
USSR collapses, marking the end of the Cold War.
Wait, I could be wrong with this, right? But, you know, Russia invading Ukraine, was that the first step in Russia bringing back the USSR? Because I don't really know the means behind the war. Like, I know the war happened and stuff, and it's still probably it's still happening, right? But I don't know, like, the means behind it. I'm not that educated on it, right? So these was all involved in the USSR. Do you reckon Russia was like, this is first step? Like, take Ukraine, take Belarus, take Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia. You know what I'm saying? And get the USSR back? Is that what it is or no?
End of the Cold War.
New World Order.
The US emerges as the only major world power.
Right.
Domestically, the population calls for more investment in the fight against poverty, crime, gangs, and drugs. However, the US continues to primarily focus on its foreign policy, showing an apparent willingness to become the world's policeman of sorts.
Fair
when
point.
Iraq invades Kuwait, which then held 9% of the known oil reserves in the world, the United States forms a coalition and neutralizes the Iraqi army.
Oh, wow.
The US then establishes a list of countries considered as rogue and threatening global peace and stability. These nations are subjected to blockades and embargoes. Meanwhile, the military presence of an ally of Israel in the Middle East bothers radical Islamists, including the terrorist group Al-Qaeda headed by Osama bin Laden, who is a former ally from the Afghan war. US facilities and assets around the world are targeted by terrorist attacks.
Wow.
On September 11, 2001, the United States becomes the victim of a large-scale terrorist attack on its territory. Terrorism thus becomes the new enemy of the country. But it proves more difficult to fight this war as terrorist organizations operate discreetly in mobile networks without borders.
Okay.
Having launched a war against the Taliban in Afghanistan, the US hardens its stance against North Korea, Iran, and Iraq, which it considers part of an axis of evil. A new war is launched against Iraq, but US troops, after quickly overthrowing the government, find themselves fighting against several terrorist groups in the region. In 2007, the subprime mortgage shock, followed by the financial crisis, plunges the global economy into turmoil. The country tries to revive its economy, among other measures, by boosting the extraction of shale oil on its territory. Today, the extraction of shale oil on its
shale oil
to revive its economy, among other measures, by boosting the extraction of shale oil on its territory. Today, the interventionist policy of the country is increasingly countered by rising powers such as Russia and China. The United States, however, remains the most powerful economy and military in the world.
Oh, yeah. When you look at economy and military, like we've seen other videos on that, bro, United States, you have to compare them to the rest of the world combined. Not even individual countries, bro. The United States, when it comes to economy and military, they're just way up there, bro. And that was a really interesting video. Learned a lot in that one, so did enjoy it. Hopefully you guys did enjoy as well. If I missed anything or didn't understand anything, let me know in the comment section below. I'll really appreciate that. But yeah, if you guys did enjoy, make sure to leave a thumbs up, subscribe for more content. I'm live every single day on twitch.tv/L3WG. If you guys want to check me out over there, I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.